Hello, listeners, young and old, new and old.
Old and
young.
Old with an E?
Old and older. We're here before this introduction to the actual episode starts.
This isn't an intro.
We want to remind people that in a few months we're going to be having a special episode where we're going to be answering a listener question that someone sent in to us, and we're going to be answering it, but we also want to hear your answers to send in, and we'll read them. We'll say your name and your address, social security number, all that. So the question we want you to answer is, what do you like most about Angelenos? And also, what should someone not from here be aware of to make their stay as agreeable as possible? That is the question we got, and that's what we're going to delve into. We're going to crack the code of what it means to be from Los Angeles.
I have no good answer for that, and I'm working on it because I know that it's coming up in a couple months, and I need to have a good response to that because I'm responsible because I'm co-host of this podcast.
I'm just going to take the best answer we get submitted and read that.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, I'm just going to name a bunch of movies that I've seen.
As an Australian woman,
as a frequent skydiver, what I think is...
Wait, we should say how we send that in.
Oh, yeah, any way that you can message us.
Yeah.
Through Instagram.
At LA_Meekly. You can email it, la.meekly@gmail.com. Somehow on Twitter, at LA_Meekly. Facebook.
Subtweet us, whatever that means. I think it's bad, but just do it anyway.
Now enjoy our introduction. Enjoy your second hurdle to getting to what you wanted to actually listen to. See you, bye.
Well, guys, we did it. We performed the Hollywood Bowl.
The Beatles, Aerosmith, Leonard Bernstein,
Hugh Jackman,
Greg and Daniel. We did it.
We did it.
We are Hollywood Bowl royalty. You can tell from the title of this episode, this was a very big one. This is one I have been pushing for this one for a long time. So let me walk you through what exactly happened. We originally wanted to interview someone, because we wanted to go to the Hollywood Bowl Museum because I love that place and I love the Hollywood Bowl. So I emailed them and it took a while and there was a lot of going back and forth. And I was like, all right, we'll get to interview someone who works at the Hollywood Bowl Museum. We figured it'd be like an old docent who'd been there since the very beginning. And we're like, okay, well, we'll just... And then a few emails later, it said, so you're going to be meeting with the executive director of the LA Philharmonic. I was like, well, that's a weird title for the person who works in the museum.
That's an odd combination of titles. Okay.
I don't know how it happened, but it happened, and it was very exciting.
It was very exciting.
Yeah. Her name is Gail Samuel, and it was very nice of her to meet with us because she's very busy. She's running the LA Philharmonic. That includes, we'll get into it in the episode, but that includes the Hollywood Bowl, the Disney Concert Hall, like everything that's going on musically, like the Dudamel stuff. It's all happening, and she's coordinating stuff, and she took the time to speak to us, which was incredible.
It was an incredible gesture on her part.
Yes.
To sit down and talk to us.
It was so big of us to meet with her.
In some of the coolest chairs we've ever sat in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It turned into not just the Hollywood Bowl Museum. It covered the whole Hollywood Bowl, so this is a double whammy. It was great.
Yeah, it was great.
A lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. She's very, above all the other things she is, just so pleasant.
Yeah, she was really, that was something we were kind of worried about, like, oh my God, she's going to come in a tuxedo.
Yeah, I know. We're literally wearing scrubs.
But she was very easy. She's a fun person. Yeah. She knows a lot about the Hollywood Bowl. She's been with it for a while, and she's a lot of fun to talk to. Oh, yeah, and afterwards, we walked in, because I was saying, I've always wanted to watch them rehearse at the Hollywood Bowl. Because we mentioned it
in our Hollywood Bowl episode that they were rehearsals, and you're like, I've never really had the time to go. So now we're at the Hollywood Bowl and they're having a rehearsal.
Well, we just wanted to see, like, I wonder if we can look into the Hollywood Bowl. And then we went in there and it's like the Hungarian orchestra is practicing
in casual clothes, which really threw me off.
We're all wearing like khakis, your usual Hungarian garb, khakis and a polo shirt. It was weird. It looked like who's this high school band that just walked onto the Hollywood Bowl? But they were playing this great music and we were sitting there with like 10 other people just listening to it.
It was very nice. And then we thought that we had discovered gold. And then literally the next day, I believe Hidden LA put out an article and thousands of people liked and shared it. And we thought, okay, well, we're nobody and we'll always be nobody.
Yeah, well, Gail likes us. If you want to learn more about what's going on at the Hollywood Bowl and the Philharmonic in general, you can follow them at Hollywood Bowl and at LA Phil. And also go to the museum like we talk about before. If you're going to the Hollywood Bowl, leave yourself a little bit more time, like an extra 30 minutes, and go to the museum, which is free. And it's a good teaser to show you the history of the place, and there's that exhibit that we talk about going on right now, and you can listen to these really good old recordings from decades ago at the Hollywood Bowl.
And they also have just like a lot of really great mock-up models of
the old band shells.
That was really interesting. And then going out and seeing the shell now, it's I've seen pictures of what the different ways the Hollywood Bowl has looked but to actually look at the shell and the stage models and standing next to each other, you really get a better idea of the evolution. And there's pictures of Muppets too.
And you see how the Muppets evolved over the years of the Hollywood Bowl. If you haven't been to the Hollywood Bowl, you definitely should, because there's a lot of good shows. There's some stuff coming up, which some might already pass by the time this comes out. They're doing Beethoven's Ninth. They're having the Maestro of the Movies things, which is the John Williams thing. They play John Williams music. I think this year he's only introducing it, but he's still going to be there. Yeah. And you'll still watch clips and stuff, and I go to it every year, except this year because Melissa doesn't want to go with me, and I have no one to go with. I'm waiting for you to say I'll go with you.
I'm going to go.
It's okay. I'll text Gail. And they have Barry Manilow in orchestra.
That's pretty cool.
Ben Harper and Nina Cherry. They're doing an American in Paris. There's Café Tagfaba. Like, there's something for everybody. Yeah. If you're interested in anything, there'll be something that you're interested in there. So yeah, go see something at the Hollywood Bowl and the Philharmonic. Yeah. They're all. I was thinking about recently, like, there's no like opera house. There's no opera house in LA where Bruce Wayne's parents can just get killed. Yeah. And then I thought about, like, well, there's the concert hall and the Dorothy Chan. Like, those are opera houses. Those are beautiful places to go, and that's all LA Phil stuff.
It is.
This was a fun episode. We're fun. We're fun too. We're fun people.
There's proof somehow. I don't know.
I can prove it. I'm fun.
I have a shirt that's really blue. I don't know.
If you're into this, leave us a review on iTunes. Support this.
If you tolerated this, there's more out there.
Leave us a review on iTunes. 5 stars. It helps us get noticed by more people. At LA_Meekly. There's pictures we post every day. Follow us on Twitter at LA Meekly, Facebook. You can listen to these in our past episodes and field trips on YouTube. You can support us financially if you want on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. We will send you a handwritten postcard every month.
Your name will be on it. We will be writing directly to you.
There will be a stamp.
It is not a message that everyone gets. You're going to get your own personalized message on completely
I just have a big rubber stamp.
Cool. Thank you for
Thank you for your money. Thank you for your money. If you also are the executive director of the LA Philharmonic and you want to be interviewed at the place you work or know someone who works at some other place that's important to the city, you can email us at la.meekly@gmail.com or contact us one of the other ways we said, and we'll come down and interview you, and we'll have a great time.
You could be the executive director of wherever you work.
Yeah, and we can talk to you.
We demand introductions.
So enjoy our field trip to the Hollywood Bowl Museum and Hollywood Bowl. Bye.
Get out of here.
What the hell are you still doing here? Here it comes.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm ready.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, the first question. Who are you and how long have you lived in LA?
My name's Gail Samuel, and I've lived in Los Angeles my whole life, save a couple of years when I lived in Minnesota and then came back because it was way too cold. So yeah, I've been here my whole life. I've been around the arts in LA my whole life. And
what part of the city are you?
I grew up in Claremont, actually. So I'm a kind of an east sider generally.
The part of the city where I don't know where anything is. So now our next question, where are we right now?
We are sitting in the Edmund Edelton Hollywood Bowl Museum, which is at the Hollywood Bowl, and it's a small museum off of Pepper Tree Lane, which is at the entrance to the bowl, and it was built in the 80s and then renamed for Ed Edelman, who was a county supervisor for about 30 years, who was a staunch supporter of the arts and a supporter of the LA Phil, who operate the Hollywood Bowl for the county. So that's where we are.
We'll repeat it again, but it is free. I think that excites a lot of people. Especially.
Yes, it absolutely is a free museum, and it's open throughout the year, not just during the summer Hollywood Bowl season. It is open during the day and then also around concerts in the evening.
Yeah, because that's what I always insist on getting here early, although for some reason I never do. But whenever I'm here early, I always like to come and peek around before the show starts. It's a good, what would you call it, an appetizer, I guess.
For the sampler platter.
Yeah, you can learn a little bit about the history of the place, and then we also always have rotating exhibits that change out every year or two, so you can learn a little more in depth about some area.
And right now I forget. I just remember the advertisement of him ask me about how to glaze plastic or whatever. I forget his name already.
The current exhibit is called Tapes Rolling. David Swedlow records the Hollywood Bowl. So we have a wonderful set of recordings in our archives from the late 50s by a man named David Swedlow, who was sort of a nerdy tinkerer and a big guy in plastics and things, but was developing home Wi-Fi, basically.
Okay.
Not Wi-Fi, home hi-fi.
Hi-fi. Okay.
You know,
He was way ahead
home
of his
audio
time.
system. Sorry, 50s. He was way ahead of his time. That's right.
Someday there will be an exhibit on the Wi-Fi of the Hollywood Bowl.
But that is a whole other story.
Because we were just listening to the one over there. It's really crisp. It wasn't like some live recordings from the past are very crackly and grainy.
Yeah.
This was really, really clear.
Yeah, he was developing, like I said, kind of tinkering with new technology, and so they're very early 3-track recordings.
Yeah.
And
Which
he
we
had,
established we don't know what that means.
but he had multiple machines. We have one of the machines here that he would use, and he recorded a couple hundred concerts at that time, including what we were just listening to, which is this wonderful set of recordings from the concerts Nat King Cole did here in the late 50s.
So I'm guessing in the past, not all concerts were recorded in the early days?
Yeah.
Are they now?
That is true. They are. We have archival recordings of all the concerts now. Interestingly, the LA Phil did the first full concert broadcast in the country, which I believe was in the late 20s, early 30s.
Right.
So that the LA Phil was kind of ahead on that.
So, Gail, what do you do here?
I am the executive director of the LA Philharmonic, and as I said, the LA Phil operates the Hollywood Bowl for the County of Los Angeles. It is a county park. So my current role is really managing this wonderful venue, both on the operations side and then working with a team of programmers who do the programming for the venue. And it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
How did you get here? What was the progression?
I drove down.
It all started in Claremont.
No, not from Claremont anymore. Good God, no. I grew up in a family of musicians. My parents were both public school music teachers, so we sort of all started playing instruments as kids.
Family band.
And family band. All that was sort of piano, trombone, and violin and cello. So it was kind of a weird combo. Yeah. So I studied music, and I was a violinist. But I kind of knew I wasn't that good. And I didn't want to spend a lot of time in a practice room. I was a more social creature than that. And so I kind of studied music and psychology in college, and then started working in concert production. And fairly quickly in my career ended up at the LA Phil in a very entry-level position, and then started managing the musicians of the orchestra, and then never left.
Why would
Smart
you?
move.
Yeah. You work just at the Hollywood Bowl, or do you deal with the stuff at the Walt Disney also?
Both.
Okay.
The whole staff of the Philharmonic really works across both venues. So for a long time, I was managing the musicians at the orchestra and concert production, and was kind of wherever they were and doing that work. And then about 7 years ago, I had an opportunity to start managing this venue, which I have always loved. So I'm still involved in activities across the organization, but my primary focus is really about the Hollywood Bowl.
Okay, so I have like never-ending questions about this because your title is so cool. How much contact do you have with like the perform? Like, are you texting with Dudamel every day? Like, what is your involvement with the actual?
I have texted with Dudamel. I am not doing it daily. Yeah, I mean, I've had a great opportunity to really, I've known and I know the members of the LA Philharmonic very well, certainly, for a long time. And I worked with Esa-Pekka Salonen for almost his entire time here, and now working with Gustavo. So yeah, I absolutely, am in contact with people and can, walk backstage and say hello, which is wonderful and and a lot of fun. And I've had the opportunity over time to meet incredible artists. It's funny, some people will say like, who's your favorite and or the most interesting, and I met Cab Calloway.
Really?
Right?
That's so cool. Do you still text with Cab Calloway?
I don't know, for some reason that one.
What was he like?
I don't even really. It wasn't a long conversation. I went back in his dressing room. This was in the 90s, and sort of said hello and Heidi hi.
And he told you to get out of it.
No, he was perfectly lovely, and but I think, God, I was in a room with Cab Calloway. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all I could ever ask for. That I could ask a million, but we should go to the next question. So what is this place's role in the city? Either the museum or I guess the Hollywood Bowl, both of them.
I feel like the thinking about the Hollywood Bowl on the whole is it is just it's part of the history of the city.
Yeah.
I mean, it the history of the venue starts really in 1920, and from 1920 to 1929 it became a lot of what it is today if you're thinking about just the architecture and the physical place. And so I think there's just such a long tradition of it, and it just really grew up with the city. And so I don't even know how to think about it as separate.
Well, what about the museum in particular? How about it's a little more narrow?
Yeah, the museum is, as I said, it was built in the 80s, I think around the Olympics, possibly.
That's a good ploy.
I think so, right?
Yeah. Got to build a museum quick.
Yeah, that's right. And it's just, I think for me, as I love the history of the place, I think, and I think it's the place that you can come and really start kind of understand its connection to early cultural icons of the city and the people who really developed everything that's going on in Los Angeles. And it was very, not long after the city became a city, really.
Yeah.
Is the archive you were talking about of the recordings here, or where is that?
No, our archives are stored separately, but the same team of people who run the museum actually manage our archives. So they're very involved in, collecting and protecting the history, both of the LA Phil and the Hollywood Bowl as part of it.
Yeah, makes sense. I also, before I forget, is there still a rivalry with the Ford Amphitheater? Because I remember reading about the split where the person, I might be wrong, but the person wanted the Hollywood Bowl to be like strictly religious stuff or something.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about that history. I do know the Ford was built originally for a Passion play. That was why it was built, and it was built around the same time. It was very similar time, maybe a couple years earlier or later. It was right around the same time. I know that in the 80s or 90s, the LA Phil we were doing a series of like chamber music concerts at the Ford, but then that stopped. It's beautiful. It's just been renovated. It's also it's a beautiful space.
Yeah.
So there's not a Hatfield and McCoy thing going on?
I don't, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Rocks being thrown across the
No, not as a rule. I think we try to, orally keep out of each other's way.
Right. That is surprising because I've seen from the Hollywood Bowl when there is a show going on at the same time, but I never hear anything or even hear anything from the freeway. It's pretty well secluded.
Yeah, you'll see the lights.
Yeah.
And their renovation included a big sound wall, which I think helps them not hear us.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the most important thing here, either at the bowl or the museum?
The most important thing here is it sort of disappears every night when the concert's over, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what happens here.
Yeah.
And it's the concerts and the artists and 17,000 people coming together to enjoy it. And, and though we do have archival recordings, once it happens, it's gone.
Yeah.
And which is beautiful also, and it's that kind of that one opportunity for people to gather and enjoy something together, which is very different from what David Swedlow loved, sitting in in his home and listening to 3-track recordings.
Because this has to be like one of the top 5 most iconic venues in the world, probably. That to me, it feels like it.
I like to think so. We had a really wonderful moment. Hugh Jackman just brought his tour through last weekend, and he had never been here before. And on Friday night, so he had 2 shows, and this was the last. His last stop in his U.S. trip before he goes to Australia, and there was a moment when he started the show, and it's very choreographed and planned, and he's doing his stuff, and he's amazing, and he just kind of stopped and looked up and went, "This place is incredible," right? And he just and you do. I think people come out on that stage and seeing that that iconic the curve of the seating area and just what it looks like, and going up the hillside and then the moon above.
Right.
It's a great moment, and I see artists have that response a lot.
Yeah, and it's also for me, like I go at least one show every summer. Like it's become a tradition, especially the John Williams thing, which I know it's like a religious pilgrimage for a lot of people. And so it's really, I don't know, this place just creates its own sort of mythology and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, John Williams, it's a 40-year history of doing those concerts. I mean, the first Star Wars concert here was like 6 months after the first film came out. So yeah, and you anybody you talk to, it's fascinating to me to hear people's histories of their family traditions around the Hollywood Bowl. And I love bringing people who are new to the city, for the first time. And people really have very specific traditions around, we go to this picnic area and we have this picnic exactly this way with the same cheese from the same place, like every single time. And it's a huge range of ways people do it.
Yeah. For like 5 years straight, I would always get the same pad thai from the same Thai restaurant and bring it here. It was like, I need the same fork.
They won't let me in if I don't have it.
This is my ticket.
It just won't feel right. Yeah, I know. Exactly. It's really, and I think that's one of the things that I love is that I feel like it is that for people all across the county of Los Angeles, right? It is very accessible. It is very open, and I think that's great.
Yeah. So what is your favorite thing here?
My favorite thing here, I love the fact that it's a park.
Yeah.
And it's also, like the museum, the park is open every day. So you can come to and have your picnic on Tuesday afternoon. Right. People can come here. And I think that idea of just being able to come and explore and walk around, see the museum, it's just that it's open. It's open and it's free, all the time to come and see it.
And I've always wanted to come see the rehearsals, but I never can sync up when I'm available and they're here. That's something I've always wanted to do.
Yes, if you come during the day, you may just happen upon something really, really fun going on stage and be it. Sometimes it's not open, but mostly it is, and come in and see what's going on.
Cab Calloway might show up.
Cab Calloway.
I kind of hope not, but
the story of the century.
That's right.
So what do you think LA would be like without this place? That's a hard question. As we talked about before, it seemed to have grown up with it.
Yeah. That is a hard question. I mean, it would be what it would be, right? But I think that there's that piece of tradition, right? There'd be a hole there. Some sort of just the generations of people who have been here and would be missed. I mean, what would there be here, right? You look at this beautiful space, right? The condos or houses, right? More houses. Right. I have colleagues sometimes ask me from other orchestras, like how can we start a summer season like that? How do we do that? I'm like, well, you need to turn back time 100 years and start this wonderful tradition because
when the plates collide, they create a perfectly acoustic area.
But it's not just, I mean, it is physically the place very much, but it is also the tradition that I think is so critical.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, this is not related to anything, but I have to say it. You mentioned houses. There's the one house on the hill that's the hang glider house that you can see from the seats above the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
It's like my favorite house in the city. I love that house.
And who?
The guy who lives there is the guy who made the song, I Like to Move It, Move It.
Oh, no.
So he gets that privilege of looking over
all over. That's great.
That's what writing a hit song gets you.
Bird's eye view.
Yeah. So what's the strangest thing that's ever happened here?
So in my time here, when there's this history of the different stage shells that were built. So in the 20s, right, every year there was a new one. In 1929, we landed on a shell that stayed until 2004 when the one that is here now was built. And so in my earlier days working here with the orchestra, I remember two specific things because it really was like duct tape and holding this thing together. It was very, very old. So one day a musician was sitting on stage and a raccoon peed on her from up within the shell.
Wow.
So there were raccoons living up there. And then one day actually an actual bird egg landed on the timpani in the middle of rehearsal. So
did it make it like brown?
It cracked. So those are a couple of my favorite stage stories.
This sounds like scenes from Splash Mountain. Yeah. Like just critter country. Just animals roaming everywhere.
It was quite something. But you do, I mean, the part of it being a park, right? There's some days you'll be out here, especially after it rains, and there'll be like deer. You see deer in the hillsides. It's really sweet.
It's nice.
I always hear stories about the Greek amphitheater. People are saying like a raccoon just ran across stage. I never see too many come on stage during shows.
We had a couple of years ago, there was this pigeon that landed on the front edge of the stage, and I don't know what was going on with this pigeon, but it just like danced for like 15 minutes, and everyone was just staring at the pigeon like we were mesmerized, and just this like, and it stayed in maybe like a 2-foot square area. Sorry, it was hilarious.
Everyone's looking for an agent.
I know, right? Got his 15 minutes of fame. I'm also told that Hollywood High School has had their graduation ceremonies here for almost 100 years. Like they've regularly, and apparently in the 70s there was a streaker at some point that came across stage during the Hollywood High School graduation.
70s Hollywood, it all adds up. High school,
it all adds up.
What's this place's best kept secret? I hope it's buried treasure.
Whenever we do construction projects, we do talk about the lost treasure of Cahuenga. But it has not, to my knowledge, been found
yet.
Yeah, that's right. For me, I think about, it's nothing like that, but if you go to the very top of the seating area and looking over the shell, you can see the Hollywood sign.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually this really beautiful photo spot, and it's really nice to go up there and because you don't really realize that the angle is right, that that's where it would be.
That's a twofer.
It is, and it's awesome. After it's dark, you can't see it, but it's really fun. And I think too that some of our picnic areas that there's a dozen or so picnic areas around the park, and there's some that like if you kind of go behind, like they're up on hills and have wonderful views of downtown. And so there's some if people haven't explored all the parts of it yet, it's nice to find new areas.
Yeah, it's because it's so hilly and like curvy around, like you never know what you're going to run into right around a corner.
Yeah.
When's the best time to come here? Either museum or...
Well, the museum when it's open.
And when's that?
Museum is open from I think 10 to 4 during weekdays, and then also before shows.
Okay.
And having spent as much time here as I have, I love being here when it's empty too, and especially like right after it rains. I mean, this last winter when we had so much rain. If you go in the seating area and you look across, the hillside was just so lush and green and beautiful and fresh, and it smells good.
Does it smell good?
Oh my gosh, it smells so good.
I forget what it was like.
I know, right? I really, of course, coming and being in a concert and enjoying those wonderful moments, like that's truly the best time to be here. But I think missing out on it as a park is also, people should discover that because it's really wonderful in that way.
Where should you park when you want to come here? Very important question.
Very important question.
And an intimidating question for a lot of, I know a lot of people are like, I can't go there, the parking is...
Okay, so the trick is we have probably one of the most robust transportation system for any venue in the country, really. If you don't want to drive all the way here, which I totally understand, we have 3 very close by shuttle lots. So one at the zoo, one on Ventura, and one at Hollywood and Highland. Right. And we run shuttles, and you pay a few bucks to get on the shuttle. And then we also, around the county, because again, county park, we in 12 different places around the county, from like Chatsworth to Lakewood to Arcadia to Santa Monica. Yeah. We have park and ride lots. Oh, okay. So you go, you park your car, you can reserve a spot on our website in advance, and then you just get on the bus. People love the buses. Yeah. Love the buses.
Yeah, I always do the Ventura lot one, but I've done the the Chatsworth one. It's crazy that you just park in Chatsworth. There's never, like in that parking lot, there's never any problem with parking there, and then you just take the bus and they do everything for you. It's pretty nice.
And the operations and parking team here do an amazing job really of getting those buses out of here quickly after concerts. And my recommendation for concerts is for sure, if you come during the day, there's lots of free open parking and you can just be here and it's great. But the buses are for sure the way to go.
And also the red line's not too far off either.
No, it isn't. Yeah. I have one pre-last question that also isn't related to anything. I don't know. Do you know the David Lieb Hart, the guy who sings with the dog puppet who sits kind of out front here? I just wanted to know your thoughts on it, because we talked about him in an episode. We did his whole life story, and I've seen him my entire life. Yeah. And I associate him with the Hollywood Bowl as well, which is crazy. But
my thought, no, look, I feel the same way. I think the same way you're expressing, right? He also will be down at the Music Center during. If you're wondering where to find him during the off season at the Bowl, you come on down to the Music Center. He's on the main plaza usually there. He's like an iconic piece of the Bowl too, and everyone walks by and says hello, and he does his
Someday he'll have his own show at the Hollywood Bowl.
You guys should work on that.
So now the real final question. What's the best place to eat here?
Our food is really good here.
Yeah.
My favorite place to eat, honestly, is the wine bar, Anne's Wine Bar. And I think it's partly my favorite because the first year I started in this role, working with the bowl more, it was the year we built it.
Okay.
And so the LA Philharmonic funded the building of that new space, which includes like a big popcorn stand underneath it. But there's this wonderful wine bar, and it's run by Suzanne Goen and Carolyn Stein of AOC. So it's very much an AOC themed menu, and it's fantastic. And I love it because it's very open, and there's great people watching. You can see everybody coming in, and they just do great food. But also, like the other night, I walked up near the third prom where the benches are to get tacos, because our executive chef Jeff Rogers makes killer tacos. They're great tacos. So there's a lot of options, and I hope, again, that's, I think, sort of being a county park and being for everybody, I think there's a lot of options, a lot of price points, a lot of availability of different kinds of food, which I really do make a point of trying all of it. It's all really good.
Yeah. Also a really great gift shop by
yes, which is right here near the museum, actually. Right.
I forgot where we were. But
yes. It is a great gift shop.
Yeah.
Great gift shop. And we have there's a food marketplace now right next door to it. That's actually we redesigned that main plaza a couple years back. And so the shop and the marketplace got redone.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So.
Well, that's all we have. Those are all of our questions.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Yeah,
thank you.
For having us. Thank you.